sex education from the public schools. I believe it'll only motivate parents to be more responsible, to communicate more to the children, and it could benefit them in staying away from, you know, teen pregnancy, STDs, and stuff like that. So that's along with, you know, private schools, the parents have the capability of doing that as well.
Right.
Yes, parents do have the capabilities of doing that, but what about the parents that don't know the technical terms of the reproductive system, and they don't give the kids, they're not motivating the kids really of, you know, that the kids want to go to school because you want to be best at everything you do, correct? But if the kids, most kids, in the past, most kids have been in sex ed classes, they've been laughing and playing around and stuff, mainly because they haven't been getting grades for it, and it's been taught in a recreational class like PE or gym. But lately they've been getting grades and they've been getting taught the correct terms for it, and so they know what to do and everything else. And so in the public schools, 7,700 U.S. Americans lose their virginity every single day. Today, well, school's basically over for a lot of kids in school today. So 7,700 kids lost their virginity today. And out of every 4 of those 7,700, one of them caught STD. Mainly because they was not either they was taught abstinent only and everything else. But when abstinent only has been taught, it's been the kids been pledging to, okay, I'm only gonna take abstinence. They've been more likely to have unprotected sex and more likely to catch an STD or pregnancy. But the kids that have been in public schools, this is all public schools facts, they've been, long-term wise, it's been known to lower STD rates and pregnancy rates. And it's also reduced the frequency of sex, the number of partners, etc., etc.
That's flawed then. So you're saying is, why wouldn't they teach all comprehensive rather than just teaching abstinence only? Because it's the parents that really have input, that they don't want them to teach comprehensive, maybe religious values or whatever. So it's really, that's just flawed. So they need to really create like a whole new system of how kids learn them. Because that's obviously, one is benefiting more than the other. And that's, our argument is about whether you should have in public schools, not which one is better. And so, if that's flawed, then we should really get rid of it, the whole thing, and just maybe start something new. But again, parents are the best source of the information. It's not hard to, what's the most important is to really explain to the children what they are. I don't think you need to know the details of every single process, but know the outcome of each, the effects of what sex can bring. And, you know, maybe, I'm just kind of giving my opinion here, but to see it maybe mutual understanding or a compromise, you know, some information maybe should be given from the schools to the parents so they could teach them, you know, just some ideas. But again, it's not difficult, and parents, like we already stated, should be the ones to do this.
But most kids, if their parents come in the room and say, Michael, I want to talk to you about sex. Most kids, if they don't blank the kids out, if they don't blank the parents out about it, they're gonna just sit there and just nod with their head and say, yes, okay, I understand. But they're gonna go right to their friends. Can you believe my mom talked to me about sex today? But they're gonna go, and so they're still gonna basically refer back to the same thing. They're learning from outside sources. But when you look at it, do you have any kids?
No, I don't.
Okay, when you do have kids, if you send your children to a public school, are you gonna want them to be taught sex ed?
I would want them to be taught what I want, what I believe, and how they should be taught. And I'm prepared to do that. You know, if they want to learn from, you know, starting from a young age or whatever. And it should be my right to give them the information, not some government or school tell them this is what you need to know. Maybe I don't want them to learn everything that they should be taught. And I think that's perfectly fine in our rights as parents to give that information to our child.
That's true. Well, we're not saying that this sex education class is going to be mandatory. It's just an elective. It's for those parents who want, you know, maybe to inform their children a little bit more. You know, because you can have the option when you're in school to pick your electives. You have your main courses and you have your electives. We're not saying that you have to take it, but it's a class offered to better prepare you. You know, it offers, you know, self-awareness, you know, just things that
a parent can do.
Yes, things that a parent can do, but what if the parent doesn't know, like we mentioned, all the technical terms and everything? You know, because not all parents just have all about sex education in their head. They can't just say, you know, this is this, this is this, this is this. They don't have the medical terms. They don't know everything, basically. And so when you go to an educator and, you know, they state the facts and they teach you, then maybe even the children can go home and educate the parents, enlighten them on something the parents didn't even know. You know what I'm saying? They take that and, you know, just spread it out to everybody.
That's perfectly right, but if sex education in public schools was as effective as you're saying it would be, then over 90% of pregnancies that are teenagers that regret being pregnant and that did it on accident wouldn't come from those that were taught sex education in the public schools.
Right. And this
if it was as effective.
these statistics are over all the schools that have implemented this, or is this
In
on
public
just
schools.
all over,
All public schools
all over in the U.S.,
in the U.S., in the world.
in the world?
Yes, because these that are no sex education, those are mostly third world countries.
Mm-hmm.
That's why in third world countries, they don't focus as much on sex education.
Mm-hmm.
That's why. If it was as effective in public schools, then over 90% of teen pregnancies would come from those that were taught in public schools. And we believe that the government is giving so much money to public schools teaching sex education. And that's what they've been up to, that's what they've been using their money on. But I believe, and Michael as well, that they should instead be focusing more on giving money to people that are going to actually influence the kids more. Where do they get most of their information from? Where do they spend most of their time? What do they listen to the most? That's where we should put it, because that's what they choose to listen to, which is media, TV, MTV, music, movies. And parents. All of those are things that they choose to do. They're not forced to. They choose to. A lot of kids are forced to go to school. If you choose to listen to something, if you choose to be around someone, if you choose to be somewhere, you're going to get most of your information from there. And as an example for that, I have MTV. The average teenager enjoys to watch MTV in front of their parents or behind their parents' back. They do it or have once done it. But that's why MTV just recently has started 2 sex educational shows called Man and Wife, and one is called Sex with Parents. Both of those just recently started. I looked those up, and the reason they started is because the government saw that kids are getting most of their information from the media. So it's lessening in public schools because of this. It's increasing in the media because that's where kids get most of their information from, and that's where they're most influenced.
Let's take this more locally. In Katy, parents on Monday night, they went to a seminar at Morton Ranch High School and Seven Lakes High School, and they were taught about sex ed, and they were taught about how to inform their kids more on it. They had a survey on that. They gave each parent a survey, and each parent even agreed that they did not even think about teaching their kid about sex, or they didn't know how to teach their kid about sex. And so you continue to bring up the facts of how the parents should teach the kids how to teach the kids about sex, basically, instead of the public schools doing it. But like I said, most parents don't have the ability to do that, or they don't even think about doing it. Like most parents, I know my mom, she basically didn't even tell me nothing about sex. She just basically said, you better make sure you use a condom. If I was not smart, and street swappy with it, I wouldn't have known, I gotta limit my amount of partners. I gotta know exactly what I'm talking about. I gotta know exactly what I'm doing before I even try to head that way, etc.
Your mom did give you some advice. That was the advice she gave you, and that's what she thought was best for you. All right. Some parents are aware of what to teach their children. They told you use a condom. Stupid. And they didn't say that. But my parents, they never really talked to me about it. Honestly, I grew up in a church, and what the Bible says is wait till marriage. So that's what I was told my whole life. So there's different parents are influenced different ways, or how they teach information, but they know what to teach. They have that ability to say, I've done this, I've created someone, I know how it works. I could tell my kid, and we know that most parents are uncomfortable, and so are children of talking to their parents. But they gotta get past that. It's important that they get past that. It'll create a better relationship with their child, and that's probably one of the more important things. Create a better relationship, create a child that's aware of the outcomes of sex, and that's able to teach their